So this guy Lipsky here, she finished a fight by Kneebar after being inside of a calf crusher, and she makes a really common mistake here that I'm actually uh, really bad about, honestly. It's just keeping my super long legs really far up there, close to my opponent's head and armpit, so they can just grab around it and look for single leg X. It's kind of a bad habit. It's very easy for people that are longer, especially for their division, just because it's nice to be able to get up high so you can pass, and it's nice to be able to shove that knee down into knee on belly and kind of go reverse knee on belly for a minute and then switch to a normal knee on belly. Because of course, if she just throws this knee down into the stomach and then takes a little mini back step here with her left leg, she's in a reverse knee on belly. That's an easy pass. But if her opponent's left leg circles in between the legs, then she can get stuck into kind of a calf crushing situation. Or if her opponent's right leg circles over the top and starts looking for kind of a knee bar, she can get stuck in the calf crush. And that's, I think, what happens this time. So when we're going through this sequence here, you're going to see the bottom leg comes through, but the top leg can then come over to look for the calf crush, or the bottom leg can come through to look for that heel hook, and it ends up being that top leg like we had talked about a second ago. Top leg coming over is going to look for the calf crush. And then here we have Lipsky kind of looking back at the leg lock, and this is a rule of thumb not to do. When you're in a leg lock, don't look at it. Leg locks are the dark arts of jiu-jitsu, right? They can sometimes be a little bit frowned upon, so don't look at them. Just pretend you don't see it existing, look away from them, and run away from them. And that's kind of basically the defense mechanism that you should be using for the majority of leg locks. It's turn away from the leg lock. Don't start spinning, because that's a bad idea. You're going to rip something apart. But instead, just turn away from it, look away, and then start extracting your leg with the other leg. So from here, we can see that her vision is coming down this way. She's looking at the face. She should be turning out this direction away from her, and then she should use one foot as a brace on the legs right here, and then she should extract the foot that's entangled out that way. So that's the setup that she really needs to utilize. And so as we go through the match here, you'll see that she's going to get stuck deeper because she didn't run away initially, and then now she's kind of sitting on the hips. Now, the fact that this person has their arms connected here with a foot on the inside and she's not tapping from this suggests one of two things to me. Either her knee is already broken and she doesn't care, which is very possible, or she just is tremendously flexible, because I'll be honest, I've definitely been in this position quite a few times, and I've never found myself here hanging out and not tapping. Right? When I get stuck here and somebody grabs my hips like this, it's game over for me. So either she has much more flexible knees than I do, or she is just dealing with an intense amount of pain at this moment. And so now what she's going to do is grab a hold of this heel. Now this is actually a very good technique here. Grabbing the heel of the foot is always a really good thing because it's the end of the lever, and it's actually sometimes easier to grab the heel than the toes because it moves less. Like there's one less swivel point that you have to deal with, right? Because you have the hip as a swivel point, you have the knee as a swivel point, and you have the ankle as a swivel point. But if you're grabbing the heel, you get to basically exclude the ankle, so that's not a swivel point. You only have two points to deal with, and then it's mostly your arm versus the hamstring, right? Because you're pulling upward, right? So the contraction based muscles for bringing your knee downward are on the hamstring right here, right? So it's going to be your arm versus the hamstring, and that's actually a winnable battle sometimes. So as she pulls up, especially when she uses two hands, she's going to get that leg extended. And then from here, she's going to hip in. Now note, when she hips in, her hips have to go down and then across, right? And during that down and across motion, she's actually putting more pressure on the knee. So not only was she okay in the situation that she's sitting in before and not too hyperextended in her knee, but she actually has to hip into it more in order to get this finish for the knee bar, which is, I think, even more impressive from a flexibility standpoint, but also goes to show that it's very unlikely for anyone to be able to finish this technique effectively unless you have a really high level of physical dexterity, which is not necessarily something that everyone's genetically gifted. Because I think at this point, with how extended her knee is at this moment, it's up to genetics more so than just training. So that's my take on the knee bar, but it was a very interesting submission, something crazy out of left field, so cool to watch.